I never imagined I would be the kind of woman who needed to read the fine print on documents handed to me by my own son. Yet there I was, on a quiet Thursday evening, sitting alone at my kitchen table, a cup of untouched tea growing cold beside me, staring at a stack of papers that felt heavier than they looked. Before I tell you what those papers said, you need to know who I am. My name is Margaret. I'm 62 years old. Until 6 months ago, I spent 34 years as a financial analyst for Mercer and Associates. I didn't retire because I was pushed out. I retired because I earned it. My husband, Daniel, passed away 3 years ago. Losing him hollowed the house in a way I still can't fully explain. When I retired, I thought it was time for something gentler. Travel, gardening, maybe finally learning to paint, the way I'd always promised myself I would one day. That house, the one I was sitting in, wasn't just wood and walls. Daniel and I bought it when our son Jason was 2. Every room carried a memory. First steps, late-night homework, birthday cakes and quiet arguments and forgiveness. Jason is 35 now. He works in marketing. He's married to Brittany, and they have 2 children, Emma 7 and Lucas 5. Those grandchildren are the brightest parts of my life. I see them every other weekend. I bake with Emma. I read to Lucas until he falls asleep on my shoulder. I truly believed, that Jason and I were close, which is why what happened next, hurt in a way I wasn't prepared for, started with a phone call. Jason called me one Tuesday afternoon, his voice light, almost cheerful. "Hey Mom, just checking in. You've seemed a little scattered lately." Scattered. The word stayed with me long after we hung up, because I wasn't scattered. I still balanced my accounts to the penny. I ran 3 miles every morning. I remembered everything that mattered, or so I thought, because over the next 2 weeks, the calls kept coming. Questions wrapped in concern, suggestions disguised as care. And slowly, quietly, something began to feel very wrong, and I didn't yet realize that the papers on my table weren't about helping me at all, because my son wasn't just worried about my future. He was already planning what he thought should belong to him. 3 weeks later, Jason invited himself over for dinner. "Just the 2 of us," he said. "I miss our talks, Mom." I smiled, though my stomach tightened. I made his favorite pot roast, roasted vegetables on the side, a little comfort for a conversation I already feared. At 6:30 he arrived, leather folder tucked under his arm. I froze for a moment. That folder felt heavier than any knife. I swallowed and welcomed him in. We ate. We talked about the kids. He asked about my health, my finances, whether I felt overwhelmed lately. I answered carefully, watching him. Then came the moment I dreaded. He pulled out the folder. "Mom," he said, voice unusually earnest, "I've been thinking a lot about your future. I want to make sure you're protected." "Protected from what?" I asked. "From unexpected situations, medical emergencies, financial confusion. You know, at your age." I almost laughed. "I'm 62, not 90. But he smiled nervously, as though that would make it believable. "I found this wonderful assisted living community," he added, "and I had a lawyer draw up some papers, power of attorney, healthcare proxy, and a trust for your house, all in your best interest." I stared at him. My son, the boy I had raised, whose college I paid for, whose wedding I funded, whose nightmares I soothed. He was holding a contract that could take everything from me. "I need to think about it," I said. He frowned. "There's nothing to think about. This is for your own good." And then he left, slamming the door behind him, leaving me trembling in the kitchen, the aroma of pot roast lingering like a bitter memory. That night I couldn't sleep. I thought of Daniel, of my life, of my home, and I remembered something. When I retired from Mercer and Associates, they had offered me consulting work. Maybe it was time to call in a favor, because the next time Jason came to my kitchen, I wasn't going to be the same mother who blindly trusted him. The next morning I called Jason. "I've thought about it," I said, carefully measured. "You're right. I should get my affairs in order. Come over tonight and I'll sign the papers." He sounded relieved. "Great, Mom. I'll bring Brittany to witness everything." "Perfect. That day I made a few calls. Margaret Wu, my former colleague in estate law. The bank. A locksmith. By 6 p.m., everything was ready. Jason and Brittany arrived, smiling. Brittany carried a fancy pen. For the signing, she said brightly. I thought it should be special. I nodded, keeping my voice steady. We sat at the kitchen table. Jason spread the documents in front of me. I put on my reading glasses and began to read. Really read. 34 years of analyzing financial documents had taught me one thing. I could spot manipulation from a mile away. And there it was. The power of attorney gave him immediate control over my finances. Not if something happens, but right now. The healthcare proxy allowed him to make medical decisions even if I was fully competent. And the trust? It didn't just put his name on my house, it transferred full ownership, with a clause that allowed him to evict me at his discretion. My hands didn't shake. I had expected something like this. Seeing it in black and white still hurt. Everything looks good, Mom? Jason asked, eyes bright. I looked at him. Calmly. I have a few questions, I said. His smile faltered. The game had changed. Because the truth in those pages wasn't protection. It was betrayal. Jason shifted in his seat. What kind of questions? He asked, voice tight. This power of attorney, I said slowly. It's effective immediately upon signing. That gives you control right now. Not in an emergency. Not when I'm incapacitated. Right now. Correct. He hesitated. Well, yes, but only to help you. I flipped the next page. And this trust. Full ownership of my house transfers to Jason Michael Chun. That's not protection. That's theft. The word hung between us. Brittany's phone dropped. Jason's face went red. How dare you accuse me? He spat. I'm not accusing, I said, calm, precise. I'm stating a fact. If I sign these, you legally own my house, my finances, and can put me in assisted living against my will. That's not protection. That's exploitation. He opened his mouth, then shut it. Maybe you just need someone to make decisions for you, he muttered. You're clearly not thinking straight. I stood up. Get out of my house. He froze, then grabbed the folder. You're making a huge mistake, he said. We're trying to help you, and you're too stubborn to see it. No, Jason, I said, stepping closer. You were trying to steal from me. That's the difference. He stormed out. Brittany followed, heels clicking on my hardwood floor. I stood there, heart pounding, then locked the door. For a few minutes I let the tears come. Then I stopped. I had work to do. Because when someone betrays you under the guise of love, calm planning becomes your weapon. The next morning I met with Margaret Wu, my trusted former colleague in estate law. She raised her eyebrows as I laid the documents on her desk. Margaret, I said, these are the papers Jason brought me. Her eyes widened with each page. This is unconscionable, she said finally. If you had signed, he could have drained your accounts, sold your house, and put you in a facility without your consent. I nodded. I know. I need protection. Not just legal words, but real control over my life and my assets. Together we drew up a plan. A power of attorney that only activates if I'm truly incapacitated, certified by 2 independent doctors. A revocable living trust with me as trustee. A fraud alert on all my accounts. That afternoon, I moved my assets into accounts Jason didn't know existed. I changed locks, updated my will, and secured the house. When Jason called 2 days later, I stayed calm. Mom, I'm sorry, he said. Can we talk? Of course, I replied. Saturday. Dinner at my place. Bring Brittany and the kids. I was ready. Because taking control isn't about being unkind. It's about protecting yourself before someone else takes what's yours. Saturday arrived. I made spaghetti and meatballs, the kids' favorite. Emma and Lucas ran around the backyard while Jason and Brittany sat at my kitchen table. Have you thought more about those documents? Jason asked cautiously. I have, I said. And I've decided you were wrong. I've already met with an estate attorney. I set up a proper trust, updated my will, arranged my affairs the right way. His face froze. What? Without telling me? Yes, I said calmly. Just like you didn't tell me what those papers really said. You tried to take my home, my savings, my independence. That's not help. That's exploitation. Brittany looked stunned. Jason tried to defend himself, but I stayed steady. I loved you, Jason. I still do. But I will not be your victim. Your greed does not override my life or my dignity. They left and the house felt silent but safe. 3 weeks have passed since I last saw my grandchildren. I miss them, yes, but I have my freedom. My life. My safety. I paint, volunteer, plan trips, run 3 miles every morning, read novels, and teach seniors how to protect themselves. I am 62, alert, strong, and fully in control. The lesson? Love should never cost your dignity. Family should never cost your safety. Protect yourself even from those you love most. Because the truth is, you can lose someone, but if you lose yourself in the process, that's a cost you'll never recover. If this story moved you, subscribe for more real-life stories that inspire and remind us what matters most. Click a video to continue the journey.